The massive doors of the Galactic Defense Council chamber slid open with a sound like thunder. Lieutenant Commander Nari Kim stepped inside, her black military uniform looking small against the enormous room that stretched up toward a ceiling lost in shadows. Behind her walked Captain Jinwoo Park, carrying a datapad with Earth's military files. The chamber was built to make visitors feel tiny. 12 towering seats surrounded them in a circle, each one designed for a different alien species. Some seats glowed with strange lights. Others seemed to be made of living crystal. One appeared to be filled with swirling gas that somehow held a shape. Nari had studied each species for months before this meeting. Forthok were tall beings made of living crystal who had ruled space for over 5,000 years. The Nethri looked like clouds of gas but could think faster than any computer. The Kaleks moved as one mind across millions of bodies. Each species believed they were superior to all others, and all of them looked down on humans. Thol-Rex, the Warthog's counselor, was the first to speak. His voice came through a translator box, but still sounded like rocks grinding together. He did not even look at Nari directly when he spoke. "So," he said slowly, "the humans have finally decided to join our war." Nari stepped forward and gave a respectful bow. She had practiced this moment many times. Everything had to be perfect. "Honored Council," she began. "Humanity offers our newest warship and our tactical knowledge to help fight the Devourers." Sound like wind through broken glass came from the Nethri representative. Velnara was laughing. "Your species," the gas being whispered, "has been in space for less than 300 years. We have fought the Devourers for 1,000 years. What could you possibly teach us?" Nari felt her jaw tighten but kept her voice calm. "Humans see problems differently. We might notice things that others have missed." This time, several council members made sounds of amusement. The Kalek representative, a creature that looked like a walking insect, clicked its mandibles in what Nari knew was their version of laughter. "You have never faced extinction," said Kree-7, speaking for all Kaleks everywhere. "Your world has never been attacked. Your people have never watched their children consumed by living ships. You know nothing of true warfare." Captain Park shifted beside her. Nari could feel his anger, but she remained still. She had expected this reaction. Every human diplomat who had tried to join the galactic community had faced the same dismissal. Finally turned one of his crystal eyes toward her. The eye was larger than her head and glowed with cold blue light. "Your species is young," he said. "You are weak. Your lifespans are short. Your technology is primitive. Your ships are small. What makes you think you can help where we have failed?" Nari had prepared for this question too. She gestured to Captain Park, who activated a holographic display showing Earth's newest warship. "The Determination," she said proudly. "Our most advanced vessel. It carries new weapons designed specifically to fight the Devourers." The council members looked at the hologram for exactly 3 seconds before dismissing it. The Zephyrian counselor, Vex Prime, spoke in a voice like singing metal. "Cute," it said. "Your ship is barely the size of our shuttlecraft. Our weapons can destroy planets. Yours can barely scratch our whole armor." "But sir," Nari tried to continue, "our weapons work differently. They target biological systems rather than just causing explosions. The Devourers are part machine, part living creature. If we can affect their biological functions enough, Thorax cut her off." "We have heard similar ideas from a dozen other young species. They all thought they had the answer. They are all extinct now." The chamber fell silent, except for the hum of alien technology. Nari felt the weight of 12 species staring down at her. Each one had fought the Devourers longer than humanity had existed as a space-traveling species. Each one had lost entire worlds to the enemy. The Devourers were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were ships that lived and breathed. They consumed entire planets, turning the matter into more ships. They had been spreading across the galaxy for 1,000 years, growing stronger with each world they destroyed. However, Thalrex continued, we are not completely unreasonable. Humans may contribute to the war effort. Nari felt a spark of hope. What kind of contribution? Logistics, said Velnara with obvious amusement. Supply runs, carrying ammunition between our real warships and the battle zones. Moving medical supplies, basic transport duties. The hope died in Nari's chest. Supply runs. They were being offered the chance to be delivery drivers while the important species did the actual fighting. With respect, Captain Park said, speaking. For the first time, humanity has more to offer than just transport services. Kreese Heaven's mandibles clicked again. Your captain speaks out of turn. Humans must learn their place before they can be trusted with important duties. Nari put a hand on Park's arm to keep him quiet. Getting angry would only prove their point about human emotion, making them unfit for war. We accept, she said simply. The council members seemed surprised. They had probably expected her to argue or plead for a better assignment. You accept the logistics role? Thalrex asked. Yes, humanity will serve the war effort in whatever way the council believes is best. But even as she said the words, Nari's mind was already working. They thought humans were weak because they measured strength by size and technology. They thought humans were stupid because they had not been in space very long. They thought humans were useless because they had never faced extinction. They were wrong on all counts. Humans had faced extinction many times on their home world. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, diseases, and wars had all tried to wipe out humanity. Each time, humans had survived, not through superior technology or size, but through adaptability and determination. The aliens saw logistics as busy work for inferior species, but Nari saw an opportunity. Supply runs would take human ships throughout the war zone. They would see how other species fought. They would observe the devourers in action. Most importantly, they would learn. Your orders will be transmitted to your ship, Vex Prime said. Do not disappoint us by failing even at such simple tasks. We won't disappoint you, Nari replied. She meant it, though not in the way the council expected, as the massive doors closed behind them. Captain Park finally spoke. Supply runs, he muttered. After everything Earth has accomplished, they want us to be space truckers. Nari smiled, for the first time since entering the chamber. Perfect, she said. Perfect. How is this perfect? 'Cause they're not watching the supply drivers, okay? They're focused on their grand battles and superior technology. Meanwhile, we'll be everywhere, seeing everything, learning how this war really works. She looked back at the closed doors of the council chamber. They think they know what humans are capable of. They're about to find out how wrong they are. The greatest mistake an enemy could make was underestimating humanity. The Galactic Defense Council had just made that mistake. Soon, they would understand why that was the last mistake many species ever made. But first, Nari had supply runs to plan. Word count, 1,150. 6 months had passed since the meeting with the Galactic Defense Council. Lieutenant Commander Nari Kim stood on the bridge of the Determination, watching the stars streak past as they traveled through hyperspace. The human warship was small compared to alien vessels, but it was fast and well built. Her crew had become like family during their endless supply missions. Engineer Minho Lee kept their engines running perfectly despite the constant jumps between star systems. Tactical Officer Cyan Cho had memorized every weapon system on the ship, even though they were only supposed to carry supplies. Communications Specialist Hyunwoo Jang monitored all military channels, learning how the other species fought their war. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. They were heading to the Kepler 442 system to deliver ammunition to 3 alien warships stationed there. It was supposed to be a safe run, far behind the battle lines. Dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds, announced Navigator Don-Yuk Kim from his station. Nari settled into her captain's chair. After 6 months of supply runs, she had seen more of the war than most council members realized. She had watched alien fleets fight the Devourers dozens of times. Each battle followed the same pattern. The aliens used overwhelming firepower and expected to win through superior technology. They usually lost. Hyperspace exit in 10 seconds, Dong-Yuk called out. The stars stopped streaking and became steady points of light. The Kepler 442 system appeared around them, with its yellow star and several rocky planets. 3 alien warships should have been waiting for their ammunition delivery. Instead, chaos filled the view screen. Contact, Squine shouted from her station. Multiple ships engaged in battle. Account 3 friendly vessels and 7 unknown contacts. Neri's blood went cold. Unknown contacts in this system could only mean one thing. Those Devourers? She asked. Cyan's hands flew over her controls. Analyzing the sensor data. Confirmed. 7 Devourer vessels attacking our supply targets. On the main screen, Nari could see the battle unfolding. The alien ships were in trouble. 1 Vorthok battlecruiser and 2 Zephyrian destroyers were fighting against 7 Devourer. Ships that looked like living nightmares. Devourer vessels were unlike anything else in the galaxy. They were grown rather than built, with hulls that looked like black metal mixed with organic tissue. Tentacle-like weapons sprouted from their sides. They moved through space like predators hunting prey. The Vorthok cruiser has lost main power, Hunewool reported, listening to their emergency transmissions. The Zephyrian ships are requesting immediate retreat authorization. As they watched, one of the Zephyrian destroyers exploded in a ball of fire. The Devourers had torn through its shields like they were made of paper. A transmission crackled through their speakers. It was Captain Korth Prime of the Vorthok battlecruiser, his crystal voice filled with panic. All vessels, this is Korth Prime. We are overwhelmed. Repeat, we are overwhelmed. Any ships in the area, retreat immediately. Do not attempt rescue. Then, another voice cut through the static. This one belonged to Commander Zex Alta of the remaining Zephyrian destroyer. Human vessel determination. You are ordered to retreat immediately. You are not equipped for combat operations. Withdraw to safe distance. Nari stared at the battle on her screen. The alien commanders were right. The determination was just a supply ship. It carried some weapons, but nothing compared to the massive guns on alien warships. Any reasonable captain would retreat and call for help, but Nari was not feeling reasonable. She was tired of being treated like humanity was useless, but she was tired of watching other species fail at fighting the Devourers while refusing to listen to new ideas. Minho, she called to the engine room. How much power can you give me? All systems are running at maximum efficiency, Commander, came the reply. But if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, we're going to need every bit of power. We have Cyan analyze those Devourer attack patterns. Tell me what you see. The tactical officer studied her sensors for 30 seconds before responding. They're not fighting randomly, Commander. They're coordinating their attacks, but there's something else. What? They're taking turns. Watch the way they position themselves. One group attacks while another group falls back, and they switch. It's like they're following some kind of rhythm. Nari felt excitement building in her chest. She had spent 6 months watching battles and studying Devourer tactics. Every other species treated them like mindless killing machines. But Cyan was. Right? There was a pattern. It's not just coordination, Nari said slowly. It's biological behavior, like pack hunting. On Earth, wolves hunted in packs using similar tactics. Some wolves would attack directly, while others circled around to cut off escape routes. They took turns so that fresh wolves could replace tired ones during long hunts. The Devourers were doing the same thing, but in space. Hanwoo, open a channel to all ships in the system. Channel open, Commander. This is Commander Nari Kim of the human vessel Determination. We are moving to assist. Korth Prime's voice exploded through the speakers. Negative. Human vessel. You will retreat immediately. You cannot help here. With respect, Captain, you're fighting them wrong. Excuse me? Nari ignored the outrage in the alien captain's voice. She was too busy watching the Devourer ships cycle through their attack pattern. Cyan, target the lead Devourer vessel, but don't fire yet. Wait for my command. Commander. Sexalta's voice cut in. You must withdraw. These are military operations beyond your capabilities. The second Zephyrian destroyer took another hit and began venting atmosphere. Its shields were failing. Dong Yuk, bring us around to attack Vector 7-7-Mark-3. Minho, I need all power to forward shields and weapons. The Determination turned toward the battle. On the screen, the Devourer ships continued their deadly dance around the crippled alien vessels. Now I understand, Nari said quietly. They hunt like Earth predators. They wear down their prey with repeated attacks, but every hunting pattern has a weakness. She watched the Devourer switch positions again. The pattern was becoming clear. There, she pointed at the screen. See that gap in their formation? It appears every 43 seconds when they rotate attack groups. That's our window. Commander, Cyan said nervously. Even if you're right about the pattern, our weapons aren't powerful enough to hurt them. We don't need to hurt all of them. We just need to break their coordination. Hyunwoo, prepare to transmit a wideband disruption signal on my mark. The Determination dove toward the battle. Devourer ships immediately moved to intercept, but Nari had timed her approach perfectly. The gap in their formation appeared exactly when she predicted. Now, she shouted .SUY-N, fired all weapons at the lead Devourer, while Hyunwoo transmitted the disruption signal. The combined attack hit the creature ship at the moment. It was communicating with the rest of its pack. The effect was immediate. The lead Devourer's coordination signals were scrambled. The other 6 ships suddenly had no guidance from their pack leader. They began attacking randomly instead of following their hunting pattern. It worked, Cyan called out. Their formation is breaking apart. The Vorthok and Zephyrian ships, no longer facing coordinated attacks, began to fight back effectively. Within minutes, 3 Devourer ships were destroyed. The remaining 4 fled the system. The battle was over. Silence filled the communication channels for almost a full minute. Then, Korth Prime's voice came through, filled with something Nari had never heard from an alien before. Respect. Human vessel Determination, he said slowly. That was the most impressive tactical display we have witnessed in decades of warfare. But even as the alien captains praised her victory, Nari knew they would dismiss it as luck. They always did. When humans succeeded at something the galactic species thought was impossible, she didn't care. Today, humanity had proven that being underestimated was sometimes the greatest advantage of all, and this was only the beginning. Word count, 1,150. News of the human victory at Kepler 442 spread through the galactic fleet within days. Nari Kim sat in her small quarters aboard the Determination, reading the official reports. Each one described the battle differently, but they all reached the same conclusion. The humans had been lucky. Lucky, she muttered, setting down the datapad. They still don't understand. A soft chime indicated someone at her door. Enter, she called. Captain Jinwoo Park stepped inside, carrying a sealed message container. His face was serious. Just came from Earth, Commander. It's priority transmission from Admiral Kyang Suhan himself. Nari took the container and opened it. Inside was a single message, crystal, and a brief note. Return to Earth immediately for debriefing. Tell no one about this order. 2 weeks later, Nari stood in a secure briefing room deep beneath the Pacific Defense Command. Admiral Han was a small man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around the table sat Earth's top military leaders and scientists. Commander Kim, the Admiral began, your report about the Devour battle has raised some interesting questions. Tell us exactly what you observed. Thierry activated the holographic display and showed the recordings from the Kepler 442 battle. Thierry, Devours fought like pack hunters from Earth, she explained. They took turns attacking, rotated their positions, and coordinated their movements. When I disrupted their lead ship's communications, the pack lost coordination and became vulnerable. Dr. Yoon Ji-sung, Earth leading xenobiologist, leaned forward with excitement. You're suggesting the Devourers follow biological patterns rather than military ones. Exactly. Every species in the galaxy treats this like a technology war. They try to build bigger guns and stronger shields. But the Devourers aren't just machines. They're living creatures that happen to be shaped like ships. Admiral Han nodded slowly. What you're describing matches some theories our scientists have been developing. Dr. Song, would you share your findings? The scientist stood and activated her own display. It showed anatomical scans of Devourer ship fragments recovered from old battlefields. We've been studying Devourer remains for months, Dr. Song said. What we found was remarkable. These ships have nervous systems, digestive systems, and even reproductive organs. They're not built, they're grown. She changed the display to show cellular structures. More importantly, they all share identical genetic markers to every Devourer. Ship we've analyzed is genetically related to every other Devourer ship. Their family, Nari breathed. That's why they coordinate so well. They're not just working together. They're literally connected by biology. Precisely. And if they're all related, there must be a source. A parent organism that creates new Devourers. Admiral Han leaned back in his chair. A queen. Dr. Song nodded. We believe so. Somewhere in the galaxy is a central organism that coordinates all Devourer activities. Think of it like an ant colony, but spread across star systems, instead of underground tunnels. Nari felt pieces clicking together in her mind. That's why no one has been able to defeat them. The galactic species keep fighting the workers, while the Queen remains safe. Our thoughts exactly, said Admiral Han, which brings us to why you're here, Commander. The Galactic Defense Council has rejected every human attempt to share this information. They believe we're too primitive to understand the enemy. What do you want me to do, sir? We're going to prove them wrong. I'm authorizing a secret research mission. You'll take a small fleet and test our theories about Devourer biology. If we're right, we might find a way to end this war. Mara. Han activated a star chart showing the Outer Rim territories. Your cover story will be extended training exercises. The Council won't pay attention to humans running practice missions. Over the next month, Nari assembled her team. Engineer Minho Lee upgraded the Determination with new sensors designed to detect biological signatures. Tactical officer Sai-Ying Cho worked with Earth's military scientists to develop weapons that targeted living tissue instead of metal armor. Dr. Song joined the mission personally, bringing along her portable laboratory. We find the Queen, she explained. We'll need to understand how she controls the others before we can stop her. The small human fleet consisted of 5 ships. Besides the Determination, there were the Resilience, commanded by Captain Sorabe, the Perseverance under Commander Tae Young Lim, and 2 smaller scout vessels. Their first mission took them to the Vega system, where Devourer attacks had been reported. What they found confirmed their theories in a disturbing way. The planet Vega Prime was gone, not destroyed by explosions or burned by weapons, simply gone. Where a world had once orbited, only empty space remained. Sensor readings showed trace organic compounds, reported communications specialist Hyun Woo Jang. The Devourers consumed the entire planet. How is that possible? Asked Captain Bay over the communication link. Dr. Song studied the readings from her laboratory. A teen just attacked the planet. They digested it and broke down all matter into energy and materials to create more of themselves. The scale of destruction was beyond anything humanity had imagined. The Devourers weren't just conquering the galaxy, they were eating it. We need to find more battle sites, Nari decided. We can track their movement patterns, we might be able to locate their base of operations. Over the following weeks, the human fleet visited system after system. Each one told the same story. Planets consumed, populations vanished, only empty space left behind. But slowly, a pattern emerged. Okay, look at this, Dr. Song said during one of their evening briefings. She projected a galactic map showing all known Devourer attacks over the past 100 years. They're not attacking randomly, it's a clear progression. They start from certain points and work outward in expanding circles. Navigator Dong-Yuk Kim studied the pattern. It's like ripples in a pond. Its expansion wave starts from the same general area. Nari traced the pattern with her finger. Here, this region near the galactic core. Every attack pattern traces back to this area. The Queen's location, Dr. Song whispered. But even as they made this discovery, troubling news reached them from the front lines. The Galactic Defense Council was planning their largest offensive ever. Thousands of ships from 12 species were gathering for a massive assault on Devourer positions. They're going to attack the wrong targets again, Nari said, reading the intelligence reports. They'll lose thousands of ships and accomplish nothing. Admiral Han's reply came within hours of their report. The Council has refused to postpone. Their offensive, claim human theories are unproven speculation. You are authorized to proceed with your mission independently. Nari gathered her crew on the bridge of the Determination. Outside the viewports, the other human ships waited for orders. The galactic species are about to make the same mistake they've been making for 1,000 years, she told them. Atia, going to fight the symptoms instead of the disease. What are our orders, Commander? Asked Cyan. Nari looked at the star chart, showing the region where they believed the Devourer Queen was hiding. It was deep in enemy territory, protected by thousands of Devourer ships. No military force had ever penetrated that far into their space, but no military force had ever understood what they were really fighting. We're going hunting, she said. While the Council fights their meaningless battles, we're going to find the source of this plague and cut it off. Engineer Minho's voice came from the engine room. Commander, are you sure about this? We're wrong about the Queen theory. We'll be flying into the heart of enemy territory for nothing. Nari smiled grimly. If we're wrong, the galaxy falls to the Devourers anyway. At least this way, we have a chance. She activated the fleet communication system. Go, all ships. This is Commander Kim. We have our orders. Plot a course for the galactic core region. Maximum stealth protocols. As the human fleet turned toward the most dangerous region of space, Nari felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The galactic species had dismissed humanity as too primitive to matter. Soon, they would discover that being underestimated was humanity's greatest weapon. The hunt for the Devourer Queen was about to begin. Word count, 1,150. The human fleet moved through space like ghosts. 5 small ships against an enemy that had consumed entire star systems. Commander Nari Kim stood on the bridge of the Determination, watching the sensor displays as they approached the edge of Devourer territory. Stealth systems are holding, reported Engineer Minho Lee. We're running silent on all frequencies. 2 weeks had passed since they left the Outer Rim. Behind them, The Galactic Defense Council's massive offensive had begun exactly as Nari predicted. Thousands of alien ships were throwing themselves against Devourer positions in a display of overwhelming firepower that would accomplish nothing. Aliens still believed this was a war that could be won with bigger guns. Incoming transmission from the Resilience, announced communications specialist Hyunwoo Jang. Captain Sorabe's face appeared on the screen. Her ship had been scouting ahead of the main group. "Commander, you need to see this," she said quietly. Main display switched to show what the Resilience had found. It was a solar system, but calling it that seemed wrong. The star was there, burning red and dim, but where planets should have orbited, there was only debris, not destroyed planets, consumed planets. "How many worlds were in this system?" Nari asked. Dr. Yunji-song checked her records. According to galactic surveys, there should be 7 planets here. 3 of them supported life. Now, there were none. The Devourers had eaten everything solid in the system, leaving only the dying star behind. "This is what we're fighting," Nari said to her crew. "Not an army, not an invasion, a plague that consumes everything in its path." They moved deeper into Devourer space. System after system showed the same devastation. Empty orbits where worlds had once thrived. Dead stars slowly burning out without planets too warm. Navigator Dong-Yuk Kim plotted their course carefully, using gravitational shadows to hide from Devourer patrols. The enemy ships moved through this region in regular patterns, like antibodies in a bloodstream. "We're getting close," Dr. Song announced from her laboratory. The biological signatures are getting stronger." On the 3rd week of their journey, they found something that made everyone on the bridge fall silent. It was a moon, but it was moving through space without a planet to orbit. As they got closer, their sensors revealed the horrible truth. The moon was not made of rock and metal. It was alive. "Biosignatures are off the charts," Dr. Song reported, her voice barely a whisper. "That thing is not just alive. It's the source of all Devourer activity in this region." The living moon was enormous. It's larger than Earth's moon, covered in what looked like organic tissue instead of craters. Thousands of Devourer ships surrounded it like children protecting their mother. "The Queen," Nari breathed. Commander Tae Young Lim's voice came from the Perseverance. "Commander, we're reading massive energy signatures from that thing. It's not just controlling the Devourers in this system. Signals are reaching across multiple star systems." Dr. Song confirmed his readings. "The neural activity is incredible. This organism is coordinating Devourer movements across hundreds of light years." Nari studied the tactical display. The Queen Moon was protected by at least 3,000 Devourer ships in defensive formations. No conventional attack could get through that many enemies, but humanity had stopped using conventional tactics months ago. Cyan analyzed their defensive patterns. Sway, integral. Cyan Cho worked at her station for 20 minutes before responding. "They're using the same biological patterns we've seen before. It's pack hunting formations, but scaled up for protecting a nest's weakness. The same weakness all pack animals have. They focus their attention outward, watching for threats from space. But they don't expect threats to come from multiple directions at once." Nari activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, listen carefully. We're not going to fight our way through 3,000 Devourer ships. We're going to hunt them." She outlined her plan. It was insane. It was brilliant. It was completely human. The Galactic Defense Council's massive offensive was still raging in distant star systems. Every major Devourer force was engaged with alien fleets, following their biological programming to defend territory and destroy threats. But Nari wasn't going to attack territory. She was going to attack the source. "Phase 1 begins now," she announced. The scout ships Pathfinder and Explorer broke away from the main group. Their job was to create distractions on the outer edge of the defensive perimeter, not attacks. Just enough activity to trigger the Devourer's territorial responses. It worked perfectly. Groups of Devourer ships peeled away from the Queen Moon to investigate the disturbances. Each time the scouts appeared in a new location, more defenders moved to intercept them. They're reacting exactly like Earth predators, Dr. Song observed. Territorial behavior overriding protective instincts. Phase 2 began when the defensive perimeter had been thinned by chasing scouts. The resilience and perseverance used the gaps to move closer to the Queen Moon, positioning themselves on opposite sides of the massive organism. "We're in position," Captain Bay reported. "Confirmed," added Commander Lim, standing by for Phase 3. Nari took a deep breath. Phase 3 was the dangerous part. The determination would have to get close enough to the Queen Moon to analyze its biological structure and find a weakness. "Minho, give me everything the engines have," she ordered. "Already done, Commander." The determination dove toward the Queen Moon like a hunting falcon. Devourer ships moved to intercept, but the human ship was faster and more maneuverable than they expected. "Scanning now," Dr. Song announced. "I'm reading massive neural clusters throughout the organism, but there's something else." "What?" "The entire surface is covered in specialized organs. They're not just for controlling other devourers. They're communication nodes." The Queen Moon wasn't just coordinating the local devourer forces. It was in constant contact with every devourer in the galaxy. Every attack, every movement, every tactical decision originated from this single organism. "Found it," Dr. Song said suddenly. "There's a central neural cluster near what looks like the organism's north pole. All other neural activity feeds through that point, the brain, more like a central switching station. If we could disrupt that cluster, the entire network would be severed." Devourer ships were closing in on the determination from all directions. Energy beams lashed out, barely missing the human vessel. "We need to get out of here," Hyunwoo warned, but Nari was studying the tactical display with cold determination. "No, we need to get closer." She opened channels to the other ships. "All vessels converge on the Queen Moon's north pole." "We've found the target, Commander." Captain Bay's voice was tense. "There are hundreds of Devourer ships between us and that target. Then we go through them. What happened next would be remembered as either the greatest tactical maneuver in human history or the most spectacular failure." The 5 human ships dove toward the Queen Moon from different angles, using their speed and size to avoid the massive Devourer vessels. The enemy ships tried to coordinate their response. They were designed for pack hunting, not defending against multiple small threats attacking from all directions. "We're through the outer perimeter," Commander Lim reported. The surface of the Queen Moon filled their view screens. Up close, it was even more horrifying. The organic tissue pulsed with alien life. Massive neural pathways glowed beneath translucent skin, and at the North Pole, a cluster of organs that looked like a diseased brain. "That's our target," Dr. Song confirmed. "But Commander, our weapons won't be enough to destroy something that size." Nari smiled grimly. "I'm not going to destroy it, Doctor. We're going to give it a stroke." She had spent months studying the biological disruptor technology that Earth's scientists had developed. Instead of trying to kill the Queen Moon, they were going to scramble its neural connections. So all ships target the central neural cluster. Fire biological disruptors on my mark. The 5 human vessels hung in space above the alien brain, surrounded by thousands of angry Devourer ships. In the distance, the sounds of the galactic war continued as alien fleets threw themselves uselessly against an enemy they didn't understand. "This is for every world you consumed," Nari whispered. "Fire. Word count 1,150. Part 5. The reckoning 5 streams of energy struck the Queen Moon's neural cluster at exactly the same moment. Disruptors designed by Earth's scientists tore through alien tissue like lightning through water. For a heartbeat, Nothing seemed to happen. Then the Queen Moon screamed. The sound came not through space, but through the communication channels that connected every devourer in the galaxy. It was a sound of pain and confusion that had never been heard before in the 1,000-year war. Commander Nairi Kim watched her tactical display as something incredible happened. Across the entire region, devourer ships simply stopped moving. They hung motionless in space, like marionettes with cut strings. Neural disruption successful, Dr. Yunji Song reported from her laboratory, her voice filled with amazement. The connection between the Queen and her children has been severed. But the victory celebration was cut short by a more immediate problem. Thousands of devourer ships still surrounded the human fleet, and they were starting to move again. Without the Queen's coordination, they were acting on pure instinct, and their instinct was to destroy anything that threatened them. Incoming fire from all directions, Tactical Officer Cyan Cho announced. They're not coordinating anymore, but there are still too many of them. Energy beams lashed out from dozens of devourer vessels. The human ships scattered, using their speed and small size to avoid the massive alien weapons. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Nari ordered. Get clear of the moon's gravity well. The determination rolled and twisted through space as devourer fire filled the area around them. On the view screen, Nari could see the Queen Moon's surface beginning to change. The neural pathways that had glowed with alien intelligence were flickering and going dark. Commander, Engineer Minho Lee called from the engine room. We've got a problem. The Queen isn't just losing control of the other devourers. She's dying. Dr. Song confirmed his reading. The neural disruption is spreading through her entire nervous system. But that means all the devourers connected to her are losing their primary programming. As if to prove her point, the tactical display showed devourer ships throughout the system beginning to attack each other. Without the Queen's guidance, they couldn't tell friend from enemy. They're reverting to base survival instincts, Dr. Song explained. Like animals in a feeding frenzy. The 5 human ships fought their way clear of the immediate battle zone, but the chaos was spreading beyond the Queen Moon's system. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy as the Galactic Defense Council's forces watched in confusion. This is Admiral Thulrex, came a transmission from the alien flagship thousands of light years away. All devourer forces have ceased coordinated movement. Repeat. The enemy appears to be attacking itself. Communications specialist Hyung-Woo Chang monitored dozens of channels as alien commanders tried to understand what was happening. None of them realized that 5 small human ships had just ended a 1,000-year war. Commander, Captain Sora Bay's voice came from the Resilience. We're receiving distress signals from devourer ships throughout the region. They're not attacking us anymore. They're just drifting. Nari studied the sensor readings. The captain was right. Individual devourer vessels were shutting down one by one as their connection to the Queen Moon failed permanently. It's working, she said quietly. Without the Queen's neural network, they can't function as a collective organism. But even as the immediate threat faded, Nari realized the magnitude of what they had accomplished. The Queen Moon had been coordinating not just the ships in this system, but devourer forces across the entire galaxy. Dr. Song, she called. What's happening to devourers in other star systems? The scientist checked her long-range sensors. Neural disruption is propagating through their communication network. Every devourer connected to this queen is losing coordination. How many queens are there? Based on our observations, probably only 3 or 4 in the entire galaxy. This was the primary queen. Her death will affect 60% of all devourer forces. The implications hit Nari like a physical blow. They hadn't just won a battle. They had crippled the enemy's ability to wage coordinated war across multiple star systems. Over the following hours, reports continued to arrive from the galactic fleet. Devourer attacks had stopped in system after system. Some enemy ships were self-destructing. Others were simply drifting in space, their crews apparently dead or unconscious. The Galactic Defense Council is demanding an explanation, Hume reported. They want to know what caused the enemy collapse. Nari smiled grimly. Kellum will provide a full report when we return to Council space. The journey home took 2 weeks. During that time, the scope of their victory became clear. The 1,000-year war that had consumed entire civilizations had been ended by 5 small ships and a handful of humans who understood something the galactic species had missed. The Devourers were not an unstoppable technological force. They were a biological plague, and like any plague, they could be cured by targeting the source of infection. When the human fleet finally arrived at the Galactic Defense Council station, they found a very different reception than the one Nari had received months earlier. The massive chamber doors opened to reveal the same 12-seat arrangement, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Instead of looking down at her with condescension, the alien counselors regarded Nari with something approaching awe. Admiral Thulrex, the Vorthal counselor who had dismissed humanity as primitive, spoke first. Commander Kim, his crystal voice, carried none of its former arrogance. The council requests a full explanation of recent events. Nari stepped forward, but this time she did not bow. She had earned the right to stand as an equal. The Devourers were not a military force, she began. They were a biological collective controlled by queen organisms. By targeting the queens, instead of fighting individual ships, we were able to sever their coordination network. It's possible, whispered Vilnara, the Nethri representative. We have studied the Devourers for 1,000 years. Our greatest scientists found no evidence of central control. Your scientists were looking for technological solutions to a biological problem. Dr. Song said, stepping up beside Nari. Humans approach warfare differently than other species. We study our enemies as living creatures, not just as machines. Kree 7, speaking for all Kalex, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. You succeeded, where we failed, because you understood something we did not. Yes, Nari replied. We understood that being underestimated can be the greatest advantage in any conflict. The chamber fell silent. Around the circle, representatives of 12 species that had considered themselves superior to humanity struggled to accept the truth. A young, primitive species had saved the galaxy while their advanced civilizations failed. The council, formally, recognizes, Thulrex said slowly, that humanity has proven itself worthy of full membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance. But Nari shook her head. With respect, counselor, humanity doesn't need your recognition anymore. The alien counselors looked confused. You see, she continued, while you were fighting the same losing battle for 1,000 years, humans learned something important. Sometimes the species that gets underestimated is the one that survives. She turned toward the chamber doors. Earth will be happy to share our knowledge with any species that asks respectfully. But we're done begging for acceptance from those who wouldn't listen when it mattered. As she walked away, Nari heard Thulrex call after her. Commander, what should we tell our people about what happened here? She paused at the threshold and looked back at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. Tell them, she said quietly, that they underestimated humans because we were different. And that's exactly why the Devourers no longer exist. The massive doors closed behind her, but the echo of her words would ring through the galaxy for generations to come. Humanity had saved everyone. And in doing so, they had proven that being underestimated was sometimes the greatest gift an enemy could give. Word count 1,150.